Well, Cruz and Kasich, they teamed up earlier this week to try and take down Trump. But is it too little too late? Here to weigh in is our political panel, Fox News contributor and radio talk show host Tammy and Republican strategist Cathy, Lynn Taylor. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So what a day for Trump. I mean, he had quite a day. He was sweeping 5 states altogether. Do you think that the Kasich-Cruz, let's team up against Donald Trump, did that backfire on them?
Well, look, this was a marriage of convenience. There's certainly no love lost here, and we know how those marriages work out. They're usually not the best. And it's already really kind of falling apart, isn't it? And really for Ted Cruz, the worst story for him last night was not necessarily Donald Trump. It was John Kasich, who beat him in 4 out of 5 states. And so I think this is not a narrative that Ted Cruz wanted to wake up to this morning, and this is a short-lived union. And it's very clear that Donald Trump is the presumptive nominee, and it's time for the GOP to
Well, he's calling himself the presumptive nominee.
That's right.
Definitely.
That's right. So, and that's not an endorsement. That's just, if you look at the votes and you look at the numbers, it's time to start thinking about unifying.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Indiana in just a moment. But in terms of what happened with Cruz, he did do worse than expected and worse than Kasich. What does he do to change things?
Well, I think at this point, things are beginning to be baked into how people view the candidates. The Cruz-Kasich teaming, as a matter of fact, interestingly, sent a message that they, too, agreed that Donald Trump was going to get the nomination. And that was the signal that was sent. Not necessarily desperation, but it confirmed what even Donald Trump was saying, which is, I'm going to get the delegates that are needed. And when that happened, suddenly people began to see, and this is the battle for everyone's mind, is that they began to see Donald Trump as a nominee and as a president. The moment you begin to imagine someone in that position, that's almost, well, it's over half of the battle. This is why in 2008, Barack Obama, remember, he created his own little presidential seal, and everyone's like, what are you doing? He needed people to imagine him as president early so that they would accept it. That's part of the fight. So now for Ted Cruz, no one at this point is imagining him the nominee, and unfortunately, as a result, no one is imagining him as president. I think at this point, he needs to see where he fits within the unity that needs to come. And when Donald Trump last night said he was the nominee, it wasn't bluster, whereas it was even a few days ago, it was bluster. Suddenly last night, it was the truth.
Yeah, well, Ted Cruz says that the problem is the media and the media coverage of it, and that's why people don't see him as potentially being the nominee.
Well, no, but see, I think that's one of the challenges in the primary season, is that that's the kind of thing you need to beat. Reagan beat it. If you can be president, you can beat it. You've got to be able to beat the American legacy media who don't like you, because the world even likes you less because it's run by tyrants.
And it speaks to a fundamental problem that Cruz and Kasich and other candidates on the Republican side of the equation have had in this campaign, which is be against or a blame game versus what they stand for. You cannot win an election running about what someone's not. You have to be about what you stand for, that you stand for your children being able to get a great education, that you can choose their schools, that you are going to be able to have health care, that you're not going to be in a black hole or a red hole, really, of debt for the rest of your life. The Social Security will exist.
Is that how they win Indiana? There's 15 or what, 57 delegates up for grabs there.
Right. I mean, so far, only Donald Trump has had that positive, relatable messaging. But Indiana is very interesting. It's an open primary. So there's 2 very important things to think about with Indiana.
Rhode Island was today, and Donald Trump overwhelmingly won.
That's right. It's an open primary, which means that voters don't have to be registered to a party to vote. It's particularly important not only for Donald Trump to win it, but to show that he can start to bring over some of the Democrats that he said he's going to be able to. This will be the first test for him of that. The second thing about Indiana is that Cruz was expected to do well because of conservatives. But if you look at last night, Donald Trump held conservatives and he held evangelicals. And so this tells a tougher story for Cruz coming up.
Let me add something when it comes to Pennsylvania. 61,500 Democrats this year alone switched to the Republican Party. The Democrats want you to think that it's a big plan because they want to affect the Republican race. No, with interviews and the exit polls, these are people who've had enough, who felt abandoned. They're the Reagan Democrats coming home.
It happened in Ohio as well.
It's happening, and it happened in Massachusetts. This is what's happening, and when it comes to Indiana and every other state, the top issue for the Democrats is the same as for the Republicans. the economy, and jobs. When you look at Hillary, she is an artifact of what has created the problem. This is going to be easy for Donald Trump as the nominee to articulate, and he's going to do it well.
All right. Thank you both for joining us, and we're going to bring you back, so don't run away.
Okay.